Hello, Pisces. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your post-Saturn-Pluto conjunction report. My name is Dee, and I'm coming to you from CatalystEnergies. And I wanted to give each zodiac sign a little bit of extra attention to talk about, now that we've had this major transformational conjunction with Saturn and Pluto, what are we doing now to move beyond this? There's been so much anticipation and build up to this moment, and it has affected everybody in different ways. And in some people it's been very disruptive, and other people it's more of an internal process and maybe not as noticeable on the surface, but more going on the inside. But everybody has been affected some way, because everybody has Capricorn somewhere in their chart based on what time they were born. So for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising, especially rising sign, the Capricorn stellium, which is 3 or more planets or objects in a sign, is in your 11th house. And the 11th house is about your networks, the larger collective that you're part of. It is your hopes and dreams coming to fruition. It is your position within the collective and the collective itself. It is the culmination of everything that you've built through your life thus far, is the 11th house. It is everything that you have been working towards and building coming to fruition. And so Saturn and Pluto coming together in this 11th house for Pisces has triggered a major transformation in terms of your role within the collective and how you see yourself, what you bring to the table, which is Capricorn itself, which is the 10th house. For you, it would be the Sagittarius would be your 10th house, which is very much about guru and teacher and truth seeking as being what you bring to the table. So now doing that, your 11th house is, what is it that you're building or have built, or what is it that you are really striving towards, ambition to create, that is manifesting your hopes and dreams and your vision of what the collective looks like with you as part of it. So Mercury was conjunct Saturn and Pluto before they came together, so getting messages about this transformation. And now right after that, the Sun has conjunct Saturn and Pluto as well, which in itself is a very big deal and provides a lot of information and illumination. But having it happen right after this very large transformative aspect for everybody, but for Pisces, having it happen in the 11th house, now the light is shining on those points of where the transformation has been solidified in terms of your networks and your friendships and the role that you play within your larger community. And it's very much about the material building of something that Pisces identifies with those things, especially having a 10th house in Sagittarius and having Mars moving through Sagittarius now, really activating this truth-seeking belief system, like a teacher, a philosopher in the realm of truth and understanding, as being your public face, what you bring to the table. And then Capricorn is the actual structure that materializes from that teaching. And that is really where Pisces is feeling this shift in terms of how they're relating to their networks, their friendships, and the collective. The other thing, so we have the moon is in Virgo right now, which is opposed to Pisces. It is the opposite sign of Pisces. So Virgo will be your 7th house, which is your partnerships and commitments. And Virgo, the moon in Virgo, is allowing us to analyze our emotions and our feelings, to make sure that they are we're down to the last detail and making sure that every aspect is put in its proper place when it comes to, for Pisces, when it comes to emotion, your partnerships, your relationships, and how you show up in partnerships. And this is very much connected to the 11th house, because the 11th house is much more about the larger collective of your network, and that is based on how you show up in partnership. So the moon is giving Pisces a really good opportunity to analyze all of the, analyze the intuitive, subconscious, instinctual aspect of how we show up in partnership as a Pisces. So, and then the moon, or Venus, has moved into Pisces, so into your first house, is stimulating this really beautiful and loving aspect of who you are as a person. And, you know, Pisces people tend to be very watery and creative and dreamy and very compassionate and also very boundaryless in a lot of ways. And Venus is about love and harmony, but also there are very distinct boundaries because it's a physical manifestation. It's an earthly manifestation of aspects that allow us to feel good. So love and relationships and our physical resources, you know, our house, our physical possessions, our energetic resources, our finances. Venus likes to feel good, and she likes things that appeal positively to her senses. And so as she comes into your first house, this is really stimulating how you can find harmony with who you are in relationships, in the physical manifestation of your life. And this is very inspiring. There's a lot of potential for creation here. There's a lot of potential for harmony here. And it really comes back to who you are, reconnecting with the fact that you are a Pisces, and that who you are is universal love and compassion and dreaminess and inspiration. It also, you know, can be illusory and boundaryless and dissolving of everything, but Venus here is very much solidifying that in a very harmonious way, and she's really inspiring Pisces right now to reconnect with themselves. So the Saturn-Pluto conjunction now, and all of this energy in Capricorn, has been really bringing to the attention of Pisces about what does make up their network. What is it that they that you as a Pisces, how do you associate with your collective and your network in a very physical, material way? What are you building? Like, what lasts? Where's your ambition to create something that's very institutional? And this is very interesting for a Pisces that has so few boundaries and is very spiritual and compassionate and feeling oriented and emotionally oriented, and to have Capricorn be in this zone of like the network that you're part of. It's very material. And so Saturn and Pluto has reconfigured this, what this means for you. And to have the south node of the moon collectively here in Capricorn is also showing us where we've mastered this energy and it's time to let go of in order to move forward. And moving forward is Cancer, which is the fifth house for Pisces, which is about your heart and play and romance. And that's, you know, collectively we're being drawn to Cancer. And so for Pisces, collectively, you're being drawn back into your heart space. What makes you feel joyful? What makes you feel playful and innocent and childlike? How do you creatively express yourself? And when you are more aligned with that, you can get a better understanding of how that translates out into your network and your place within the network. So I pulled these cards, and we're going to take a look at how Pisces may have been feeling about this conjunction and how to best understand it and integrate it, and to move beyond it and to utilize it for the development of the networks and the hopes and dreams that you have for yourself and the collective. So what is the energy that's coming into the situation for Pisces? All right, the War of the Roses. So Six of Roses is the card, and it's obviously a battle of the heart, a battle of emotions, and it's reversed. And in this situation, I think regardless of what direction this card is facing, it's certainly a squaring off of polarities that had at one point been the same, and then they have separated due to whatever conflict is going on. And it is very emotional. And the fact that it's in the inside, or reversed, suggests to me that this is about an internal struggle that you've come into the situation with, that has impacted your networks and your role within the collective. There is a lot of pain and sorrow as we see our society splitting apart right in front of us. And for Pisces, that is constantly drawn back to wanting to merge with everything, go back to source, feel the oneness that we all come from. This has been, I think, this coming into the situation, I think it's been very painful. When you talk about the collective and you talk about your hopes and dreams, oh, I'm getting so like overwhelmed right now for Pisces, because I feel like that they've been really feeling, they've been feeling very torn and very hurt and in a lot of pain on a very collective level about where we are right now. And so Pisces, I am feeling it for you right now, that like it has been on the ground, very painful. And whatever collective you identify with, I don't know, it could be in the world, it could be your community yourself, it could just be your conception of your own role within the collective, and you see how it's splitting, and how can I feel like I'm at one with the world when it's so vastly squared off with each other. And I think, you know, this is the energy coming into this situation. So Pisces, I mean, I'm really, wow, that was very overwhelming to feel that. Now, what's going on now, though, this is the energy being brought in, you know, that we've been experiencing, and that Pisces specifically has been experiencing within the context of their networks and the collective as well. So what's happening now, this present moment? This is number 2, the Akashic Library. This is access to the Akashic Records. This is an invitation right now to access the Akashic Records, to see the bigger historical, metaphysical story. Because it is a library, right? So you have volumes of information that's detailing everything that has happened and everything that will happen. And Pisces right now is, because of this pain that is being brought into the situation, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction has really reconfigured the Pisces conception of what it means to be part of a network, to be part of a collective. And Capricorn is very, you know, it's my way or the highway with Capricorn. You know, there's only one way to the top of the mountain, and so it's very singular in that way. And because of that, I can see where the pain has been coming from emotionally with the split. Now, right now, though, because of this reconfiguration, Saturn and Pluto, and right now with Venus and Pisces, this is an invitation to dig into this Akashic Library. See everything that has come before, all that is yet to happen, and see the vastness of all of it, because I think this is where Pisces is going to get much clearer on not only who they are, but their context within the larger collective, because there's more here than just this war of roses, right? This bifurcation, this duality that's splitting more. There's way more right now. And Venus in Pisces, in your first house, is also, you know, really inspiring you to get into this library and to dig in there and to align with this field, the Akashic field of everything that you've been and will be and ever was and ever will be, because that is the nature of Pisces right there. Is the source from which it all came, and the Akashic Library is the history, the record of it. And when you can, and right now being tapped into that as opposed to this pain of this separation, you can really see your role within it as opposed to what the role of all of it and where it's going. So what are Pisces focused on? What's going on up here? What are Pisces consciously aware of? Again, Mercury is also in Capricorn. Uranus is in Taurus, which would be, let's see, that would be, you think I would know this because I'm an astrologer. I'm having a blank here with, I should be writing these things down so I have a reference. Uranus is in Taurus, so you're looking at, let's see here, the second house. Third house. Uranus is in the third house of Taurus. So just moving direct, communication, the ability to not only communicate out, but communicate in. What are you letting in? What are you letting out? What are the thoughts that are, rolling around in your mind? What is the filter in which you conceptualize reality? That's really the third house, like how you make sense of the duality in and of itself. And Uranus is going direct now. And Uranus is also the great awakener, the collective third eye, the electric lightning bolt shift, in consciousness that is very much part of the Aquarian archetype. And going into the Akashic Library is kind of tapping into the collective third eye, the higher octave of Mercury, which is more, like I said, your third house about, how do you conceptualize what you see as reality? What is the story that you tell yourself and that you express out there about reality? Because that shapes everything. It's the Akashic Library is in it, you have access to it right now to see a much more vast historical record of humanity as opposed to tapping into this pain of duality, which has been very real. So what's going on up here? The Muse. Now this has come up a couple times already. So the Muse is the Venus in Pisces. And I think that you, as a Pisces, are very aware of what's going on in the realm of Venus in Pisces. The inspiration is coming in to your higher awareness. You are being inspired to create something beautiful, to conceptualize something beautiful, especially about who you are. And this is where your focus is. This is where your awareness is. And this is absolutely a Venus in Pisces energy with the Muse. Very much on your mind, very much in your awareness, and also coming in through those upper chakras, coming in through the crown and through the third eye, and even in the throat in some ways, because the throat chakra is Taurus, which is your third house of communication. And so there is this inspiration, create something, to express yourself in some way, and to conceptualize yourself, who you are, in a way that is inspired. That's lovely, considering where the energy had been coming from. So what's going on underneath the surface? What is it that is in our subconscious, where our energy is rooted, what we're not actually fully aware of, but is in fact happening and influencing a lot of our deeper emotions, our intuition, and our behavior, our instinct in some ways. Oh, that's interesting. So it's the Seven of Keys, the Ascent. This is definitely a Capricorn card, but it's reversed. And Saturn and Pluto has really shaken up this energy of ascension, which is in your 11th house of your network and your community, and what you're bringing, your role within that, all that context. I think Saturn and Pluto, and the South Node especially, is showing, is really showing Pisces that this is problematic in some ways. It is who you are as a Pisces. Like, it's never going to change. Your 11th house is never going to change. But what is changing is that Pluto has been breaking down what you think about it and transforming it. And perhaps where you're rooted is more about the internal ascent. Getting to the top of the mountain is not necessarily about out there and in the network, but within, and getting to the top of your own mountain. But I also feel like that where you're rooted is in this ascent being flipped on its head, giving you an opportunity to negotiate what that means within the context of your networks and collectives. It's not always, we are collectively moving away from this energy in general. And so if Capricorn being your 11th house about the collective, it's really not about this. It's not about being a boss within the frame of your networks necessarily. And it's more about making that ascent from within that's really more powerful. But the more that we push and are too ambitious with this, I think the more of this war that we're definitely already bringing into the situation, what we're feeling, I think this is just going to, if we are aligning more with this, it is definitely reinforcing that split, because the ascent is, like I said, my way or the highway. It's one path to get there, and by all means necessary. And where we're rooted now as Pisces, you as a Pisces, is reconfiguring this, letting it seep into your emotional state, into your lower chakras, your survival, your connection to the earth, because it's not really about this anymore. And that's something that needs to be acknowledged. And in fact, it is being acknowledged, and we just don't necessarily fully aware of it, but it is operating under the surface, that there is this reconfiguration about what this means in terms of your networks, your hopes and dreams, and the collective. So all of these aspects lead to an effect. We have this horizontal axis here that is your linear relationship of cause and effect. This is the law of nature, the law of the universe, cause and effect. This is part of living in 3D, and so it's important to understand that there are things coming in. There is this vertical axis where we are energetically situated, and then there is an effect based on all of the interaction here. And so these two cards, fascinating. Okay, so the first one is reflection. It is number 19, but it's reversed. And so inner, deeper reflection, I think, or the potential here for the emotions to really be taking over, and not allowing the psychic depth to really be giving us the information. This also could be about reflection on the inside as well. I'm really getting a lot of this like inner work that needs to happen. And so this reflection, the full moon reflecting off of the still water, really showing us where our feelings and our instincts and our moods lie. But when it's reversed like this, it could relate to the fact that the emotions are taking over, and it's not necessarily an accurate reflection, but more of like a disruption of the waters. But as an effect of all of this, especially with the Akashic Library and the Muse, this seems to me like you're being, the effect of all these energies interacting with each other is a very deep reflection upon yourself, within yourself. And the other card that came out with this effect is the 12. There's a lot of major cards here, the major trump cards in this Akashic Tarot. And 12 is the scribe. Now the scribe in ancient cultures, and with this card, were the most educated, because they had to record everything. And then we're going back to the Akashic Library, a record of everything that ever was and ever will be. The scribe is the energy of actually recording all of this information. And the scribe was the most educated, and is the most educated, because they have to take down all of the information about everything, all different subjects, understanding the language, understanding the vocabulary, understanding how everything interacts with each other. And so there is this, with the Akashic Library specifically, like you are being very much drawn, Pisces, to not only reflect deeply, but to take note of it, and to, once you've dug into the Akashic Library, spend some time there, going through the volumes, really getting a sense of what they have to offer. Then here is like you're now taking that information, and when you come to this deep reflection point for yourself, you're also writing it down, you're journaling, you're keeping track of it for future use. And when it comes to your networks, and where Saturn and Pluto have been impacting you in your networks. It's really important, especially again with the South Node in your 11th house and the ascent being where you're energetically rooted, flipped on its head. It's really about understanding yourself and digging very deeply to what it means to be part of a collective, be part of a network that is not just so focused on the ascension, right? I mean, that's ascension is like a big key word right now, and Pisces can be very focused on ascension in a very material, boss-like way when it comes to their role within the collective. And you're being asked to reconfigure that for yourself, especially with Venus in Pisces now, inspiring you to connect back to yourself as a Pisces and not so much trying to be the boss or to be the leader or of the ascension process for the collective. You don't need to hold all of that. You need to just come back into yourself and reflect deeply on who you are and what makes you so powerful, and to be writing it down and keeping track of it, because this is going to be how other people in the future, they're going to come back to what you've learned, what you were inspired to create, what you discovered in the Akashic records, and they're going to use that for their own teaching. And again, your 10th house, the house of your career as a Pisces, is Sagittarius. It's the teacher, the guru. And so you are already, as a Pisces rising especially, you're already primed for that. So, but you really need to reconfigure yourself within this larger collective and understand who you are, and make sure you record it, make sure you keep track of it, and make sure that it's written down in some way in order to be of benefit to the collective, because that's where the real benefit is. Not being a boss, not trying to direct the ascension, not trying to be, you know, the spiritual like leader in your group necessarily. It's all about coming to terms with who you are, and I think that that's really going to help ease the pain of the duality of the split, because I think that kind of thing is what is driving people to try to fast track ascension, or to, you know, maybe like dictate what people do within their networks or collective in terms of spiritual progression. But take a step back, dig in, and make sure you record your progress, because that's going to be necessary for people down the line and who you're in your collectives and your networks. All right, so let's pull some animal cards for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. The animals here, the plants and the animals, they are our family. We have much to learn from them, and I've been really connecting a lot to these animal messages with these readings, and they offer a lot of insight and guidance into how to really align with the energies that these readings are bringing forth. Oh, they passed right out. Wow. So the first is the grouse that just came up for Aquarius as well. Express yourself through rhythm and dancing, rhythm and movement by dancing and drumming. So this is really about changing your consciousness through rhythm and vibration of your body. It's definitely a shamanic tool to use drumming, dancing, chanting to change your consciousness. And it also is a way to express yourself through your body, which is interesting because Taurus is about the body. And since Uranus now is moving forward in Taurus, it is your third house, but also it is about the body, and it's about expressing yourselves physically as well, communicating through physical means. So dancing, drumming, ecstatic dance, chanting, toning, anything where you're utilizing vibration and rhythm with your body is going to really help this process along. And the other animal message that we got is the seagull. Now is the time for deep emotional healing. Dig into the Akashic Library. It is there for you. It is this present moment right now. You're being inspired